Okay, here we are. Alt.nerd.obsessive. Worst episode ever.
Hey everybody, welcome to Worst Episode Ever, a podcast for people who love The Simpsons, by people who love The Simpsons, about how much we hate The Simpsons. We're here trying to find which is the worst episode ever. And as always, my name is Dan.
And as always, my name is Jack.
And today, we are going to be watching an episode from season 24.
24. Beep,
just like Jack
boop,
Bauer.
Beep, boop.
Season 24 originally aired May of 2013. It is called The Saga of Carl. Jack, have you seen this one?
No, I definitely haven't. I'm assuming it's a Carl-centric episode, about time.
I believe so. I believe it is.
It's a saga. That's pretty epic. I'm trying to think, what other sagas are there?
There's the comic book called Saga.
Alien Quadrilogy? Did they call that the...
They've only called it the Quadrilogy.
There's some series that's the Saga.
There's the Chronicles of Narnia.
Yeah, that's a Chronicles. That's not a Saga.
Saga the comic book.
There's one that's like really silly. It's like it's like the Lethal Weapon saga, but it's not Lethal Weapon. But it's something that saga is not the right
Kill Bill
word.
Saga?
Oh,
I don't know. Well, write in. Tell us what your favorite sagas are, because I haven't seen the
Twilight Saga. That's
the
what
Twilight
it is.
Saga.
That's like,
You're
come
right.
on, Twilight. Come on, you're not a saga.
That's what they called the movies. That right?
Yeah,
it was like Twilight
yeah.
Saga, New Moon.
Yeah, because they wanted. It was new, that was kind of new. They weren't sure like how to convey the fact that this was a series of books to people, and in the title.
Right.
Now they've kind of given up. Now it's just like, yeah, it's Hunger Games, Mockingjay, whatever.
Yeah, right.
Maze Runner. I'll give it props. Not the best movie, the second one.
Yeah.
But they didn't even put Maze Runner. They're just like, nah, it's the Scorch Trials.
It's the Scorch
Deal with
Trials.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta give them props for
Well,
that.
this movie's you see both of them?
The first one was good. The second one was awful.
Okay, so I will watch one and not the other, but not today, because today I'm going to be watching The Saga of Carl with my good buddy Jack. And this episode was suggested by Josh. So thanks, Josh.
Just Josh?
Just Josh.
Just Josh.
I like to think it was
Saga
Josh
of Josh.
Hutcherson from The Hunger Games.
The Hunger Games. He was like, you know what? I want to stick it to a saga, because
Yeah.
Hunger Games is
Hunger
not
Games
a saga.
is the only saga.
It's not a saga.
I'm Josh Hutcherson. This is how I talk.
I started Firehouse
I was
Dog.
in Firehouse Dog. Delightful. Josh Hutcherson, if you're listening, come on in. We got a t-shirt with your name on it.
It glows in the dark.
It glows in the dark. So we're going to take a break and watch The Saga of Carl. If you haven't done so, you can do that on simpsonsworld.com. You guys know how to do it. Just you go find it someplace. And if you want to help the show, which you should if you're listening, I hope it means you're a fan and not just a hate listener. But weepodcast.com, that's weepodcast.com. Click through our Amazon links. That helps keep the show free, gets us a little taste of that sweet, sweet podcast money.
That's just for daddies.
That's just so now we've moved on from Scott Aukerman bits to Andy Daly bits.
And if one podcast a week isn't enough, if you just got to hear more Dan and Jack. Well, I guess one and a half a week.
You got deleted scenes,
got some
although
sync
there's been
points.
less. They got sync points. Home Alone 2 now available.
But now we've got a new podcast called 90s Percentile. It's coming out in just a couple of weeks.
Yes.
Monday, January 25th.
Yes. Our first episo's going to drop. I don't think we've actually said the date, so that's
There's
exclusive.
exclusive right there. And there's already been another exclusive 4 days ago. If you follow us on social, we tweeted out the logo.
Right.
That my girlfriend Missy designed and did a great job.
Excellent logo.
Yeah.
And
So-
I'm assuming everyone said that what a great logo.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
haven't released it as of this
It
recording.
got, what's Twitter now? Heart stars, horseshoes and balloons.
Lots of gold and rainbows.
and
And the red balloons.
red balloons. Whatever.
So I got a lot of red balloons.
99 red balloons to be precise.
Weirdly enough, Nena did like the logo.
Yeah, well, it's a good logo.
It is a great
She was
logo.
hoping it was going to be an 80s podcast.
Yeah, right.
But
She was like, 90s percentile, 99 red balloons.
that's what she said.
Exactly. Yeah, that was
It was under 120 characters, fortunately.
Yep. We're going to take a break and watch The Saga of Carl. We'll be back.
We're not friends. Friends share their feelings, their hopes, their dreams. Friends know their friends are from Iceland. We are just guys who sit next to each other at a bar and talk about guy stuff.
So, that was the Saga of Carl.
I thought you were going to say it's the Saga.
It's the Saga
Of Carl.
It's the Saga of Carl.
The Saga of Carl.
That's the
Cha-ta-ta.
Klingon translation of that episode title. I'm sure there are some Simpsons fan out there who translates
translating
every
the
Simpsons
episodes?
episode into Klingon.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Real quick
What a
plot.
bunch of nerds. Anyway, let's talk about this episode on our podcast.
Real quick plot recap. Should we also say we're going to try to record this live with the philosophy of cut none of this, which is how we're going to be doing our 90s percentile podcast to see if we can do it.
We can say that because we can cut this
Probably
out
not
just
go-
in
yeah.
case it doesn't happen that way.
last week.
It happened last week.
Okay, so we're going to try to do this live. Plot recap. Homer buys a lotto ticket and splits it with Carl, Lenny, and Moe. I don't know why they decided to split it. I mean, obviously, there's a huge lotto right now, Powerball, and I'm in group pools.
Which will have already happened by the time this episode comes out, right? I think
maybe,
the drawing is Wednesday.
unless there's been another... nobody
no more
won,
winners.
and now it's like $8 trillion.
Yeah.
But it's weird that usually you go and you say, "Hey guys, you want to split a ticket?" It's weird that he just came in and goes, "I bought us this ticket." But,
Well,
right?
Now we're getting into it, but I feel like they had said it was a regular thing that they do. They always buy the ticket with the same numbers.
Okay, that makes sense. Anyway, so plot recap: Homer buys this ticket. They each pick one number. They win $200,000, and they go to celebrate while Carl goes to cash in the ticket for everybody. But Carl just runs off with the money. They track him down to Iceland, where they find out he's actually from Iceland. He was adopted, and he was using the money to buy back a missing page from the Saga of Carl's family, this infamous family in Iceland that were traitors and everybody hates them, and his parents are shut-ins. And he wanted to use the money to buy the final page of the saga that would redeem his family in the eyes of his fellow people.
Yep.
And he tells Lenny, Homer, and Moe, when they do track him down, that he does not consider them real friends because they just kind of hang out and drink all day. That's not what friendship is. So to spite him, they steal the paper and they read it. They learn ancient Icelandic to translate it, and they read it, and they find out that the missing page doesn't redeem his family. It actually shows that they were even much worse than people originally imagined. So they call all of the people of Iceland together, and they say, Carl's actually a really good guy, does all these great things for us, never mind his family history, and that convinces the people of Iceland. They go, you know what, Carl, you and your family are all right.
Let's listen to these three strangers.
Yeah.
Your whole family's fine.
So Carl's very happy with that, and he runs crying into their arms and says they are true friends, and the episode more or less ends.
More or less, yeah. So that's it. That's the end of the episode.
So this was not what I expected.
Well, I knew that it was
plot,
an episode about they go to Iceland and Carl is Icelandic. I didn't know about his whole family thing, but I knew it was a go-to episode.
Yeah, see, I did know it was a go-to, and it was just kind of like last week where we said, and at the end of the first act, suddenly it's surprise,
right,
it's
a
musical.
Surprise musical.
This to me was a surprise. It's a go-to episode. This is one of those rare Simpsons go-to episodes in which only one Simpson goes. I think Homer also went to Scotland with Burns and Smithers and didn't bring everybody else. So it wasn't really a go-to. It wasn't like, let's see all the tourist attractions.
Right. Well, that's the one where Mr. Burns is the eccentric millionaire. Yeah. Well, that wasn't really a go-to, but you're right. They do go to Scotland.
Yeah. I guess this one was more of a go-to because they do kind of squeeze in all the Icelandic references they can in there.
Well,
except for one major.
Well, all right. Let's talk about this right now.
Let's talk about the Bjork in the room.
Well, they didn't do that many Icelandic jokes. They hit. I guess
I wouldn't say jokes, but they do hit upon. Here's the bullet points of this is what everybody knows about Iceland.
Right. I guess everyone knows. Iceland is green. Greenland is icy, even though they're both pretty cold.
It had the northern lights. It had the thermal pools.
They had the northern lights.
Volcanoes.
They had the terrible food. Those are the Iceland
It had the trolls and the fairies.
Right. Yeah.
It hit all the. There was a church in the background. I'm assuming is a real church.
Yeah.
They hit upon all the.
But no Bjork.
The basic
You're right.
beats. Yeah, but how do you not have one Bjork reference?
I'm Bjork.
No.
What do you mean I'm Bjork? Oh, that is my favorite recording artist, Bjork.
Nope.
I've patterned my speech after her. This is Little Ghost Girl now.
No.
We're both leaving.
Okay, yes.
Bye.
Yeah, it's weird that they would not make one Bjork joke.
Right. Yeah, I guess that is the only thing that they really don't hit upon.
Yeah.
It just felt like there's usually more humor to be mined in kind of the customs of the places they go in these go-to episodes, and I guess they tried to do it and it just wasn't that funny.
The fact that we're thinking about it, like name one other famous Icelandic.
No, you're right.
It's just, it's weird.
You're
it's not a bad thing.
No offense to the people of Iceland, but we're scraping the bottom of the barrel for funny places to go to.
Right. And I don't want to fault them. It's not like it's a bad thing that they didn't put in it. Like if they did put a Bjork joke in, it probably would have sucked and we would have been complaining about it. I'm just surprised that they didn't.
Yeah.
Hell, I wrote a treatment for a very, very big producer in Hollywood last year that it didn't end up going anywhere.
Was it Bjork? It was Bjork, wasn't it?
But the movie was a comedy and it took place in Iceland, and I had a scene where there was a a car chase between parade floats, and the parade float was a giant swan dedicated to Bjork. And that's a
Nice.
very specific reference to her swan dress.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not surprised the producer said no, but even I, amazing highbrow writer Jack Bacone, creator of Groovic, among other things, even I stooped to the Bjork level, is my point.
Right. Now, would that movie have been produced through Jack's Movies?
I would have tried to have get the EP, but
of course.
I don't know if I don't know if they would have. It
gotta
would have
have
been
some
nice.
pull.
I can't say what production company it would be, but it would be nice to have that classy logo at the top, and then followed by Jack's Movies.
Oh,
So
boy.
let's start
Well,
with
let's go
the
back
first
to the
scene.
episode. Yeah, the beginning of the episode.
So there's actually a non sequitur opening where. The
starts off-
non sequitur to the non sequitur.
It starts off with Homer watching women's tennis, and it's 4 different women. It's doubles tennis, and it's like
The joke is they're all
parodying-
Russian. The names are very long.
the names are long and don't make a lot of sense. They're jokey
they're all
names.
young, attractive women, and Homer says, "To me, this is just legs versus boobs."
Yeah, what did you think of that?
Come on, what do you think?
Yeah,
I know.
I know.
What do you
I
think
know.
I thought of it?
Why did I
Why,
ask?
Dad? I loved it. I actually wrote a movie for a big producer called Legs versus Boobs. It took place in Iceland.
Hey man, I would watch Legs versus Boobs, the movie. I think there's something to that. Get that big time producer on the phone.
All right. Well, maybe we'll make it at Jack's Movies. We'll push it up top priority.
Done.
Fast track it.
Yeah, I mean, we've said this before. When they make Homer too lowbrow, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
What would you like? Too sleazy, I
Yeah,
suppose.
sleazy's a good word for it.
Yeah.
There's a joke about how
like it.
there's a lot of young, attractive Russian teenage tennis players.
Yeah.
That's not the
I don't
way
want
to do
Homer
it.
to be the one
Yeah.
to make it. Homer is
I'd hate
dumb
to see him
and likes to
watching
eat.
Phenom. I'd hate to see the comments he'd be making about Phenom, the hit sitcom about a teenage.
Oh, with Judith Light?
With Judith Light, William
William
Devane,
Devane?
and the girl from Growing Pains and Avengers.
Yeah.
Deleted scenes.
I think now that we've brought up Phenom for a second time, we're the #1 Phenom podcast
Yeah,
on the internet,
yeah.
and possibly also Empty
We said
Nest.
we're not going to do another April Fool's. The joke's done. We're not going to do another. Let's do another '80s sitcom or old
Right, and play
sitcom
it
for
straight,
April
yeah.
Fools. But if we were going to do one, Phenom would have been a great choice. Maybe next year.
We'll see. We'll see if we can dig up episodes of Phenom. Maybe we'll do it on Halloween for some reason.
We'll do it for June Fools.
Phenomoween. June Fools.
Just hit you,
Just
yeah.
clicked with me.
Why is it going to be April? Why can't every first
Every
be
month,
a Fool's?
yeah. Okay, so officially, every first is going to be a Fool's Day.
Okay.
So-
At least in Wii Studios.
At least in Wii Studios.
Can't wait for February Fools. Feb Fools.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun.
So the kids change the TV show from the tennis to what they want to watch.
Homer the TiVo comes up
Yeah,
and says there's
yeah.
a recording conflict, which it's always, it's fine, but it's always weird to me. Jack is taking off his shirt.
I was just meant
I don't know why.
I just meant to take my sweatshirt off. I didn't mean for the whole kit and caboodle to come
as
off.
I was explaining what's happening on the show, I didn't expect to see Jack's nipples, but I did.
You didn't expect it.
I always expect the unexpected in Wii Studios.
Anyway,
You never know when a nip is going to be popping out.
we're famous for it. Google Wii Studio. Worst
Wii
episode
Studios
ever
nip
podcast.
slips.
Nip slips. It's embarrassing. Damn you, fappening.
We really. Why did we take so many
I don't
pictures
know
of our
why-
nipples?
why-
I don't know why now they're out there.
And why was our password? That's what really got us in the end.
We changed it now to the same password I have in my luggage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so there is a recording conflict with the tennis, and the kids run in, and they want to watch Kia Karate Monsters.
Yeah.
It's apparently their new favorite show. It
Yeah.
replaced, what was it called? The show replaced...
World
It was
Captain
like
Planet spoof.
Yeah, it was like Planet Person or something,
whatever.
something silly. Whatever,
See,
that was fun.
I liked it. I thought at first, I was like, man, they're doing a Power Rangers parody 15 years too late.
Yeah.
But it was actually really funny. The Karate Monsters are the old Universal horror monsters.
Yes.
And it's like Kung
I've
Fu
got all the
Mummy.
names here. I just want to run through them
Yeah,
real quick.
please do.
We got Taekwon Dracula. I like that one. Krav Magolem, I think, was
Krav
my
Magolem
favorite.
was a good one.
Blob Jitsu. Mixed Martial Medusa. That's a pretty good one.
That's a good one.
Judo Mummy.
I like Judo Mummy.
Ninja from the Black Lagoon. Ninja from the Black Lagoon.
That was a good one.
Franken Samurai. And finally, Kung Fu Werewolf.
It's just one of those funny ideas that
Very funny
I could
idea.
see even
Yeah.
classic Simpsons doing. It's like, this is ridiculous, but it could also easily exist.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'd probably watch it.
I would probably watch it too. I could see it being like a kind of tongue-in-cheeky comic book or something.
Yeah, you're right. Like, yeah.
Yeah, like one of those.
I could totally see it. You're right. 100% right.
Yeah, and I think it's a good idea. It was funny. I guess it was a Power Rangers spoof, but it was kind of just like all of those kind of in the Power Rangers Ninja Turtles molds, like
just the
monsters
what's
who
the
fight.
What's the hip kid show right now?
I think it's the Wild West Cowboys of Moo Mesa.
Is that real?
Oh, it was real back in the 90s.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I'm not. I shouldn't be hosting a 90s podcast. I honestly, that whole decade kind of blew by for me.
The Biker Mice from Mars. These are all the knockoff Ninja Turtles shows. Yeah.
So the kids, Homer was like, I was watching tennis. I was watching boobs versus legs.
Yeah.
And they said, well, Mom said we could. And he didn't believe them. So they say, well, go ask her. And he looks at the stairs. He has to go all the way up that flight of stairs to go ask Marge.
But the way that they did it was so good because it just cuts to Homer and he's got this like tense look and it's like dun dun.
Yeah,
like,
the music
cuts
is
the
tense
stairs.
and they changed the animation so that the stairs look super steep. It was very well done.
That was really cool. I liked that.
It was a fun. It's fun to play with the animation and make it work towards the joke.
Yeah, definitely.
So then the kids, it just cuts to like a montage. The kids are obsessed with the karate monsters. They're doing all the moves. And
right,
they're
fighting like kids do.
They're annoying the hell out of Marge. At one point, Bart.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
Marge is giving Bart a bath, and Lisa comes in and sprays him, and he splashes her, and then it kind of clicks.
Yeah. Why is Marge giving Bart a bath?
He's 10 years old. Like my first thought was, ooh, Lisa shouldn't be in there. Bart's naked. And then my second thought was, wait a minute. Marge is sponge bathing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sponge bathing the 10-year-old boy.
10 is a little old.
10's a little old for that.
8, I would say, is a little old, but it's still like, oh, he's a little kid. Maybe. It's weird, but maybe.
Yeah.
Double digits,
I'm trying to think, like, when did I start taking showers,
when did your mom
like, on
stop
my own?
bathing you, Dan? When did Meffrey stop bathing you?
It was probably when I was 29 years old. She used to come over every day.
It was young. It was like 4 or 5. I don't remember, not when I started taking showers, but I remember when I stopped taking baths with my sister, because at some point it just gets weird.
It gets weird, yeah.
But I do remember, this is not a story. It is a story, but it's one sentence long.
Okay.
I pooped in the bath.
Wow.
Yeah, I pooped in the bath while I was in there
with your sister. Yeah. Okay, that's why she's never been on the podcast and never will be.
She's never forgiven me.
That's why you've never spoken to her in the past 27 years.
My mom was more upset than my sister. My sister was like, 1, 2.
Right, your sister was probably just like, ooh, fun brown water.
The babies love fun brown water.
I love it. That's why so many babies get diphtheria.
Anyway, so to, I guess, shut them up, Marge takes them to a museum. There's a museum exhibit.
Well, they want to do something that is cultural or educational.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, I thought Lisa would be into it, but no, she was all about karate monsters. She was
playing about the karate monsters. It's nice when Lisa's a little kid. It kind of, at this point, usually it works in tandem with her being the smart brainy. In this case, they kind of just made us, suspension of disbelief.
Right, and it actually does make sense, like, because Lisa is a little girl, so it makes sense that she would get carried away with, like, this kid's show.
But what's funny is they get to the museum, and there's the main exhibit is the science of Ki-Ya karate monsters. And that's great. It's funny because the classic 180 joke, it's just a funny joke on Marge, but it's also a great comment on that kind of pop cultureification of museums. Like now there's Hunger Games exhibit and Star Wars exhibit. And like how museums do kind of have to dumb things down a little bit to bring in the daddies.
Well, have you recently been listening to the Andy Daly Pilot Project?
No, I did watch a rerun of Comedy Bang Bang.
Okay. But no, it's funny. It's not even just museums. I feel like there's a lot more books. Like not educational books, but like those pop culture books. There was a Simpsons and philosophy book. There's a Simpsons and mathematics book. Like, you're right, the pop cultureification of learning is kind of in there.
You got to put butts in the seats, and people don't want smart things, nerdy things. Well, they do, but they want something fun.
Well, you say that, but I actually think it is a good way to kind of stealthily get knowledge in there. Like, I don't know if you've read The Philosophy and The Simpsons, but it's a good book. And I've learned a lot about philosophy.
I mean, I'm not against these things. I get a kick out of them too. I just think they can go side by side. Like, I haven't gone to the Hunger Games exhibit, but I feel like if I went, it would be a nice little experience. It's like something like $60, $100. Too much. I won't go.
No way.
But if it was like $10, $20, I'd go see the
is that like an actual learning exhibit, or is it like props from the movies?
Props from the movie. Yeah.
Oh. Well, that's not going to teach you anything.
But even regular museum, like non-pop culture ones, I've been kind of disappointed lately. I went to the Museum of Natural History last week, actually, and I paid for the all-day pass, which is a little bit more expensive. Sure. And it basically works out to be about $15 per special exhibit. Some exhibits were great. There was like a 3D underwater ocean one by Jacques Cousteau's son. That was really cool. But then there was another one was about like gut bacteria. I was like, oh, I love like the idea of gut bacteria.
I love gut bacteria. That's why I
That's
pooped
why I
all
pooped
the
in the
time.
bath. Yeah, I was doing. I
wanted to see him up close and personal.
I wanted to educate my sister. We used to play school a lot, and I was like, this is what happens.
So wait a minute. Not only is Jack's movies a farting butt, but Jack's school is just a farting ass.
It's also
so you can learn about gut bacteria.
And so I was excited to go see this gut bacteria thing, and you go, and it was one of those exhibits where it's just like bullet point facts on a wall, and you're just like walking through.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I feel like there's a lot of those.
Was
lately.
it even like a tunnel that was like the intestines or something?
No, there was like
lame.
tunnels like that. They're like, go inside the stomach, and it was just a tunnel with more facts on the walls, and you just read the facts, and like it's okay, but you're paying $15 for this that I could have just read on Wikipedia. That's not as fun as like. You know, it's just, you know, I don't know. I feel like they could work a little bit harder on those exhibits.
So museum curators, if you're out there and you're listening, step
I feel
it
like
up.
Maybe I should just I should open up a museum, call it
Done.
Jack's Museum.
It's just farting on you constantly.
Just walk through Jack's intestine.
And it costs $60 to $100.
Yeah, exactly. There's also props from the Hunger Games.
Yeah, right. Well, of course, you got to bring in that. Got to bring in that Hunger Games money. But no, I wanted to point out that I actually think this episode sort of does sneak in some actual learning a little bit with that Blaise Pascal probability thing.
Yeah.
Because it is factually, well, maybe not factually accurate, but
classic Simpsons made plenty of smart references.
Definitely.
I wouldn't say it was learning; it was just a reference that. It's there. If you didn't know it, now you do. There's a lot of things I've learned from watching The Simpsons. I wouldn't have known who Lord Palmerston is.
Right. Well, Pitt the Elder.
Lord Palmerston.
Well, it's Pitt the Elder. We don't have to do a whole bit.
You get it.
But no, I did like, the juxtaposition of having like the science of the karate monsters, and then this show actually doing like I know a little bit more about Blaise Pascal than I did before I watched this episode.
There you go. Also, they watched that video with I guess it was the probability one. And the character looked just like Lenny, and I thought that was going somewhere because I knew this was a Carl episode. It didn't. It was just weirdly looked like a cartoon Lenny.
Yeah,
like a cartoon within the Simpsons.
Blaise Pascal was known for his likeness to Lenny. But I liked the animation on that little Blaise Pascal video. It was not so different from normal Simpsons animation, but maybe it was a little flatter, a little
it looked cartoony.
Thicker lines, maybe.
Yeah. It looked cartoony.
It was nice. It was nice. This episode had a lot of good production touches.
It's nice to switch it up from now and then.
Yeah.
Especially now that the animation is crisper, cleaner than the classic Simpsons. This sounds ridiculous, but it does look a little bit more quote unquote realistic compared to classic Simpsons. So then these other animation styles pop a little bit more than they might have in the classic years.
Yeah, and they probably have more flexibility to do a lot of things. Like when we'll talk about it when we get to the Iceland stuff, but there's a lot of interesting animation going on there also.
So that's it for the museum, right?
Yes. So, my last note here was: are we done with karate monsters? Because I thought that was a fun concept, and it's just
it'll
totally
come back
dropped.
one more time later in the episode.
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I guess we'll just say it now. So at one point they go to the museum in Iceland, the Icelandic museum, and there's a funny little background gag that says "Coming soon, the science karate." Yeah, and that was very funny.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, you're right.
Nice little callback.
You're right.
I didn't throw it in your face.
No, definitely not. But yeah, the probability thing is Blaise Pascal saying, like, you have a higher... He's standing in front of a newsstand selling lotto tickets and saying, you have a higher probability of getting run over by a car or getting struck by lightning or murdered by an acquaintance. And then the squirrel that he's with, an animated squirrel, gets murdered.
So this inspires Homer to...
It inspires Homer to go play the lottery.
Right.
Though apparently he and Moe and Lenny and Carl do this semi-regularly.
So the probability had nothing to do with anything.
Right.
So they each pick one number. It's one of those big 4-number jackpots.
Yeah, right.
And they each pick one. Carl just mysteriously alludes that his number is 22, and he says, it's just 22, don't worry about it. And obviously, it's going to come
Right, it's going to come back.
Play later. Homer says 69 because people laugh at it for no reason. That was kind of dumb.
It was pretty dumb.
Especially that extra B where he's like, I don't know why people laugh at it. It's
but I did like when then Kent Brockman reads the winning numbers, and 69 is the last number, and Kent Brockman just giggles.
Yeah. So they win the lotto. They're all excited.
Well, I want to just say the 22 thing, it does come back because that's Carl's address.
It was a bit of a letdown.
But it was a bit of a letdown, right?
I thought it was going to have a more significance than his house number from Iceland. It could have been his house number in Springfield.
Exactly. Yeah. It was just nothing Icelandic specific, I guess.
Icelandic specific, or even more
or just Carl
tied
specific.
into Carl specific. You're right. It was a bit of a letdown.
It was an arbitrary number, and it was like, oh, it's his address. Okay.
Yeah. No, it was. It was a bit of a letdown. It was like, you could tell the writers were like, oh, this would be a cool way to foreshadow the plot, but they never
Right,
really came
but
up with something good.
Exactly.
It was like a placeholder.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Well, whatever. There's a joke later when you find out that 22 is his address, and then the street name was some big long Icelandic word like
Yeah.
yeah. So
Sorry,
and-
Icelandic
so they
listeners.
go, that's why 22, blah 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 blah, and Mo goes, and that's why he wears a pair of sweatpants where that word is on his ass.
Yeah, right.
That's okay.
And I did nothing for me.
Anyway, they win. They decide to
They win the
party.
lotto!
So everybody gets a job. Like, all right, we're gonna have a huge party.
Well, before the party, Mo says...
That's
or
where I was going.
They say we're going to get some drinks, that party?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So
That was the party?
Yeah, so
Oh,
they're like,
all right.
oh, yeah, well, and Mo's like, yeah, and Lenny, you go get the drinks. And Lenny's like,
Okay,
but,
yeah.
but we're in a bar already. He goes, oh, I just give you guys gasoline and hot dog water.
Dog water.
Again, that reminds me of a classic Simpsons joke. It's the perfect combination. It works. Gasoline plus hot dog water equals Mo's beer.
Equals comedy.
It works. It works.
And did you notice later on when they all toast and the glasses burst into flames?
No, I didn't. That's great.
I thought you missed it.
That's
Yeah,
great.
that was really funny. A good callback to it.
Hot dog water is so gross. What's up with Limp Bizkit? This episode always making references to hot dog water. Ugh.
If you're doing the same references as Limp Bizkit, you know you need to reconsider your life. Now this red cap gets a rap from these critics.
Is that a line?
That was a line.
Oh man,
I
he's famous
can
for
sing
his red cap.
I can sing all of the Mission Impossible 2 theme that they did. All the people in the world today, all the people in the world.
Actually, out of all the
I
Mission
hated Limp
Impossible
Bizkit.
themes, I think that might have been one of the more fun ones.
Well, I'll say this: it's the only Limp Bizkit song that I still listen to.
it's on your playlist.
It's in there.
Well,
It's in there.
I think I've mentioned a couple times before that I wrote an album of Weird Al type parodies.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't think you mentioned
I
that on the
mentioned show. It was called Sexual Pancakes, the album, and it had.
Oh, I remember this.
and
I
it had-
remember this from Life, not from.
Right. It had
Yeah.
one shoe missing about how I was clumsy, and it was to
Yes.
the tune of One Step Closer by Linkin
Right.
Park. Anyway, I think maybe my most successful one was about our bowling team, or about bowling in general, and it was to My Way. Was that the name of the Limp Bizkit rap
It's
song?
my way, or the highway.
Yeah, and mine was My Lane at the Alley.
You're a regular
I can't remember.
Alfred Yankovic.
I bet you have the lyrics on this computer right here, but we'll move on and while I look them up.
All right. So they throw a party. There was a cute little thing in the background. It was garbage wings was like something that they purchased. And it was a hot wing place that came in like little dumpsters.
Yeah.
It was just, it was like a throwaway weird thing.
Yeah,
It
about
was just-
shitty chicken places.
I don't know. Maybe it made me hungry, to be honest with you.
So eventually Carl runs off, I guess, right?
Yeah, Carl runs off with the money because he's the one who is entrusted to go down to the lotto office and get it. They win $200,000 and they're going to split it up and get $50,000 each. I really liked that it wasn't an insane amount of money. Like, it wouldn't have been... It's not life-changing for them,
I
but
like
it's
that
enough
too.
that it'll hurt if your
Yeah.
friend, like, steals it from
It
you.
also justified the fact that it was a 4-number pool to me. I was like, because I was
Yeah.
still thinking four numbers is ridiculous.
Right.
for a
Well,
Powerball.
we're thinking Powerball fever right now. It's a fucking $1 billion.
Oh, I'd be so happy.
be so
I would,
good.
I would stop making podcasts so
we
quick.
would, okay. We should buy a Powerball ticket, and if we win, this is the last
This is
episode
the last
of the show.
episode.
I'm sorry. And
We-
90s P is never coming out.
We upload one more clip of just me and Dad going, fuck yeah!
Just Scrooge McDuck style swimming through our money. It's a visual podcast.
You know, I sometimes, I was just telling you before,
Yeah.
like I will lose 20 minutes, well, maybe in the shower doing something else, where I just get lost in the fantasy of what I would buy.
Yeah.
And one of the first things I thought is if I won was...
What is the first thing that you would buy? Let's say you win.
Well, I don't know about the first thing, but one of the things I would buy pretty upfront would be a studio for us.
Oh.
Where, you know, we'd get a actual soundproof place.
Okay.
That with air conditioning.
That would be a big change of pace.
We'd get real microphones, real recording. We'd hire an actual producer for the
That would be
for
nice.
the peanut gallery.
We'll get a
someone
Gelman.
who can ride the levels when he missed it up. You know, and,
I don't know.
And
I am not Hemus. I don't know what that
and then
means.
we could actually, you know, who knows? We could devote more time to editing. We could get the episodes down under
Yeah,
an
right,
hour.
right.
It would be a whole thing. I would
That's-
open up a Wii Studios.
that's
I
very
don't-
nice.
If I won the billion,
Yeah.
that might even make it solid gold.
That's very nice of you, and I would appreciate. So I hope you win, so that we get that
I
studio.
mean, I would make you pay for half. Like you would owe it to me. And
Oh, that's
you'd
fine.
have to pay it off in
That's totally
installments.
fine. If I won, you would never see me again. I would be gone for the rest of your life. I'd be living on the moon, which is where all the rich people live.
I'm not allowed there.
You're not allowed. It's like Elysium.
No Jack's allowed. It's like Elysium. One quick thing before we move on. Check. Check out my scoring sheet.
no.
Check out my scoring sheet. Crucial. This frame is crucial to win. In my hands the game lies. Everyone is now looking at me, cheering for me, but I need my mind free. Just 2 more pins, the 7-10 split it to win this year's championship. But I'm way too scared for this. And I'm nervous. Yeah! Arm room's what this is all about. Get away while I bowl this last shot. Now you get off my lane. It's my lane. It's my lane at the alley.
So you waited for the episode where we're not going to cut things to sing a parody song to a Limp Bizkit song that you wrote 20 years ago.
That's only, to be fair, I could have read the whole thing and the other 7 songs. But we'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it there.
Unless you do want to hear from Sour Ball.
Like Sour Girl?
Like Sour Girl by Stone Temple Pilots. My First Vasectomy by Lit.
Let's say your first vasectomy, implying that there's multiple vasectomies happening. Let's save that for 90s percentile. We want people to tune in.
Okay. This is a story of a guy who kills anyone that don't comply to his will. Fidel Castro rules the Cubans like the costly cigars you wanna buy. It's called Story of a Guy about Fidel Castro.
Oh God.
Let's move on. So they keep their so Carl hasn't come back to the party, and
Right.
they're wondering where he is, and they're like, oh well, we're really good friends. We know that we're not even thinking of the possibility that he ran off with the money. We know there's a good reason. Good old Carl.
Yeah.
I like that they keep using that phrase. Good old Carl.
Right.
And then when they're mad and they realize he did run off with the money, like looks like good old Carl like left with the money.
Yeah.
I like that the good old Carl. It was a nice little touch.
Since you brought it up that they were like, oh, Carl's our friend, he wouldn't run off with the money. There's a kind of, I guess it's a subplot in the episode about the friendship between these 4 guys, where it seems as if they consider Carl a friend, even though they sit around and do what Homer calls like dude stuff, and they just talk about baseball or whatever prolapsed buttholes from weightlifting that they bring up later.
Jesus Christ.
But yeah, and then we find out later that Carl didn't think of them as friends. He was just like, all we do is just sit there together.
Yeah,
You guys didn't even know I was from Iceland.
Yeah.
It was a very true male friendship thing.
All right,
and
so,
it was,
we're getting a little ahead, but you want to talk about this now?
we're getting a little ahead
Because
of
this is
ourselves.
the emotional crux of the episode.
but I just wanted to point out that it was there very early on. Like, this is Act 1, and they're saying,
Yeah.
Carl's our good friend. That's kind of where we're starting.
Right.
And we see how Carl thinks of them, and then how that changes
It's a good
throughout the
point.
episode.
Yeah. Well, let's bring it up now because it is. I would say this
Okay.
is the closest the episode has to an emotion. This is
this
quote
is
unquote the story of the
Right.
episode.
These are the kind of emotional stakes.
Yeah, this is what's there, and I think it more or less failed at doing that. But like you said, what was great was it is a really true to life point that a lot of people can relate to. That it's nice for the Simpsons to cover. The idea that like you can just hang out with the same guys for years and years and never actually have a real conversation, just all superficials talking about post-classic Simpsons
That's right.
episodes.
Well, Jack, we've been friends for 2 decades. I didn't know you pooped the bath when
didn't.
you were a kid.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I ever said I love you, Dad.
Well, I think that was the first time, and I will not return the favor.
Maybe we should deepen our. You know nothing about me. I cry myself to sleep every night.
Yeah, I knew
because of
that.
a severe fear of inadequacy, and that when I die, no one will remember. Also,
I sleep in a big bed with my wife. I have no trouble sleeping.
so there's our friendship. Carl is upset because they're not true friends. He wants them to say "I love you" and be there. And actually, if you're really upset, you can turn to them and you can have a deep conversation. You can basically be vulnerable. You can show that you're vulnerable. And the other guys don't really reciprocate, except that it's really never come up. They really just stick to the superficial things. And at the end, the resolution of the episode is, like we said at the plot recap, basically they redeem Carl's family to Iceland by, instead of finding this last page of the saga, or what they did, but it wasn't right.
We'll get to that.
Basically, they say Carl's a really great guy.
Right.
And we do appreciate
And a good
him as a
friend.
friend. Yeah, and he's a good friend. And this is what changes people. And Carl comes back to them because A, they admitted he was a good friend. B, he saved his family. But that's not the solution to the problem. That's a different solution to a different problem. Carl was upset that they're not true friends and they don't have emotional conversations. Basically, they just said, we really enjoy Carl and we appreciate him as a friend because he's got his shit together and he's a decent guy. He's a nice guy. He leaves the beers. He brings the painter's tape. He's like our Alfred if we used to do this. He's our Jeff. We can always count on him. No, like if something goes wrong, if me and you get a flat tire, we're stranded. But we always know Jeff will figure it out and get us out of the situation.
Right.
But that's not what Carl was upset about. Carl was saying that we would never go, Jeff, thanks for fixing the flat tire. We love you.
Right. Well, okay, so this is interesting because I actually did like this kind of through line, and I would say that Carl was the one in the wrong. I think Carl was wrong for not viewing them as good friends or like valuing this what they thought of friendship and he thought of companionship, I guess, just hollow superficial level.
I'd say he's right and wrong. He's wrong that's no reason to go, I'm not friends with you guys just because we don't,
It was definitely cold of Carl.
Yeah, it was very cold of Carl, especially to Lenny, his best friend, where he says, we're not friends, Lenny. And they
we
do
never
seem to have a deeper bond. He could have brought it up earlier.
But if Carl makes a valid point, like, you guys didn't even know I was from Iceland, but, is it their job to ask Carl, are you from here or are you from Iceland? Or is Carl going to be forthcoming with that information?
I mean, if it did bother him,
it's not as easy as that,
it did bother him, the onus is on him to go, hey, guys.
Exactly, that's my point.
So, Carl is wrong in that respect. But he's also right in that, even though it's not their fault, they're not at that deep level of friendship.
But my point is
he should be mad at them for that, but he should be like, look, we're just not deep friends. You don't know anything about me.
Right, but as far as a character arc in this episode goes, I think Carl is the one who kind of changes.
Needs to be redeemed.
Because we find out that he doesn't value their friendship, and in the end he does, because they do something for him and he realizes, they're not just,
you're
there.
right, and I don't think this is a total fail. I think it could have been better. It could have been stronger. And
the whole episode could have been better.
Because yes, he changes his mind and goes back to them, but the reason he goes back to them isn't the solution to the reason he left them. He wanted a deeper friendship where they could be closer. I don't know what the phrase would be. But basically they just go, hey, Carl, we appreciate the fact that you bring the painter's tape and leave the beers in the fridge.
I don't agree with you. I think Carl left them and took the money because he didn't think of them as true friends, and he went to go save his family.
Yeah.
And by showing the people of Iceland how Carl Carlson, the youngest Carlson family member, is a good person, they solve Carl's problem, and in doing that, Carl realizes they're good friends
because they went out of their way. Because
they went out of their way. Yeah, they didn't. They could have just left after Carl was like, "We're not friends."
All right, I'll give you that. Also, even if he wasn't friends with them, even if they were total strangers, you still robbed $175,000.
That is a grand larceny.
It's still kind of asshole thing to do. Yes, it sucks about your family, but ask the guys if you want them to be true friends. Go, hey guys, I really need this money.
Agreed. That's why I think Carl is in the wrong.
You're right.
Carl is the villain of this piece.
All right, so
the Darth Vader of this.
I'll give you that. So I won't go out and say the arc failed, but I do think it could have been a lot clearer and stronger.
Agreed. I agree with you there.
I love you, Dad.
I love you too, Jack. You got it.
Yay!
You've earned my approval.
Do you want me to sing another song? Do you want to hear American Lobster?
No, I don't.
Cholesterol 303. You're no good for me.
Jesus Christ. What is happening?
From a Shaolin monastery in darkest Transylvania come helpful hellspawn. With homicidal honor, they rampage for peace. Kia!
But before all of this stuff we were just talking about, they go to Carl's apartment to find him, and they find a letter that he wrote that said, I'm going back to my home. But what I thought was interesting was Carl's apartment is bare. There's nothing there except a photo of himself.
Two photos.
Two photos of himself. Two framed photos is all that Carl has. There's more evidence that Carl is a jerk.
Do you not have a framed photo of just yourself anywhere in your apartment?
No, I definitely do not. Do you? I mean, I don't.
There it is, right there.
Yeah, that's no one would cut this.
It's a sketch of a xenomorph.
It's a sketch of a xenomorph.
It's a self-portrait. No, I guess not. I mean, I have plenty of pictures of me and my girlfriend, but
right, yeah, no, me too.
Me and my dog.
I have tons of pictures of me and your girlfriend, but I don't have any of just me. One of these days, $1 billion and straight to the moon. $1 billion would get us to the moon, to the rich person moon colony.
Well, you said if you won $1 billion.
Yeah, I'm going to the moon.
Yeah, that was
That's
the
right.
joke.
I get it.
Yeah, even though I'm not allowed.
No, we wouldn't let your kind on the moon.
Is it because I pooped the bath?
Yes.
Is that not allowed on the moon?
Bath pooper. I cast you out.
Moon baths get no poop.
No. Yeah. You can't poop in a zero gravity moon bath.
There's gravity.
Yeah, but not as much. It's close to zero.
It's not close to zero. It's a decent amount of gravity.
Look, I don't know what they're telling the dumb people nowadays, but the rich people know.
They're lying to us about the gravity. Why would they make it sound more appealing?
I don't know.
I feel like the people running the Moon Elysium colony need to get their shit together. And if you need help getting your shit together, specifically in the bath, I'm your man.
You get the shit all out there.
I can provide that one service.
Yes, you can.
Lunar One. So I might as well bring this up too.
Sure.
Obviously, there's a lot of Lenny and Carl dialogue in this episode, and it still kind of bothers me that the voices aren't the same. And it shouldn't, because we've said this before, the voices of all of the characters change from season to season, even in the 8 seasons we consider the classic era. At best, maybe they sound the closest in like 6, 7, 8, but even those to 5 and 5 to 4, 4 to 3, they all sound different season behind. If anything, they're more consistent now because there could probably be 10 years where they sound the same.
Right, listen to season 1 Homer versus season 9 Homer.
Yeah, or even season 3 Homer.
It's a lot different.
So it bothered me that they weren't quite the same. And we've also hit on this point before, that when you do get a minor character finally get their own episode, they usually only have said for the last 10, 15 years, maybe 20, 25, that they usually only do 1 or 2 lines. They do one-liners.
And there's not a lot of range.
Right, and there's not a lot of range because it's usually just a joke.
Yeah.
They don't have to have those serious, emotional, non-jokey dialogue. So the voice actors are just inexperienced at it. They don't know exactly. They don't know. Hank Azaria might not know how to do a emotionally broken comic book guy.
Right. How do you do angry Lenny?
Yeah,
Lenny's usually a sad sack.
Exactly. So that's another reason why their voices don't quite. And we've said all this before, but something we haven't said before that I think I want to propose to you is.
You're going to propose to me? First you tell me you love me, and then you're going to propose to me?
Dan, will you share a bath with me?
Absolutely, I will. On the moon, covered in feces.
So maybe those early, like season 2, maybe not so much season 2, but maybe season 2, but definitely season 3, 4, 5, and then definitely 6, 7. This was where you were getting those episodes where they started expounding on the other Springfielders, the non-Simpsons.
Right,
you get an Apu episode.
Expanding the world.
One of the first ones,
bit,
this is why I can't remember if it's 2 or 3 or maybe even 4. What the Skinner episode, the first big Skinner episode is where he dates Selma, right? Or Patty.
Yeah, that's season 2.
See, that's season 2.
Yeah.
So I feel like...
But that was still even, in the Simpsons family.
So Harry Shearer had to do that range and had to do a lot more lines as Skinner for pretty much the first time.
Yeah.
And I wonder if doing those episodes helped craft what we now know as the quintessential Skinner voice. The Skinner voice of seasons 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Probably.
So if they didn't do a Skinner-centric episode until season 5, he might have sounded more like season 1 Skinner up until that point. So I was wondering if maybe... Because there hasn't been a real Lenny and Carl, they do get plenty of lines, but since there hasn't been a Lenny Carl episode, this is why it took this long till season 24. And now like Lenny and Carl especially don't sound like Lenny and Carl to me, but they have this range I've never heard before. So maybe this is now the quintessential Lenny and Carl voice, the season 24. This is what you're saying. Yeah. If Saga of Carl had been a season 3 episode, it would have been funnier. But maybe Lenny and Carl would have sounded like they sound now since then. I know this is confusing.
It is, but I didn't actually think their voices sounded so off in this episode.
Not as much as
Lenny did a
others.
little bit. I thought Carl was pretty on point though.
The emotional, like we said, when he was doing emotions
Carl
we hadn't heard before, it wasn't radically different. Lenny was definitely more the culprit.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that's if doing a centric episode
the voices
helps.
just evolved.
Yeah. So if you're doing an animated show from the get-go, a different show maybe have anytime you come up with a ridiculous peripheral side character, write a big emotional monologue covering all the ranges of emotion.
Do that first,
just so the voice actor can
solidify it,
get it down. Just a little advice to the future animators of the world.
I mean, this is certainly not on the same level as Simpsons side characters, but we've been known to have a few characters on this show, and I would say their voices have changed over time.
I mean, I don't know if there's been a lot of emotional dialogue for Hemus, since he usually just says, "It's me, Hemus. Did you call for me? No. All right. See you later."
Hemus is a real person, and if you would like me to call him, I will. Hemus, can you come in?
No.
Hemus!
No. I certainly, when I do some of the sillier voices on the show, when you have to say, over here, for example, when we did DiCaprio, I couldn't get DiCaprio's death scene down because I never had to read a script saying actual words that were supposed to make some kind of sense as DiCaprio. It's hard. I mean, I'm not a trained voice actor.
No. Believe it or not, neither am I.
Oh, but you're so good. Your voices are so hilarious.
Maybe you'd like Ray Romano to make an appearance here?
Maybe someday. I'll let you know.
Okay. I'll see you later. Let me know.
So they realize Carl's not coming, and they sing some best friend song.
Yeah, my note was, please don't sing.
Yeah, and they sing this weird song about how they're best friends, and they all have to say their own names.
Right.
Kind of whatever. I was gonna say, it reminds me. My dad. I don't know who brought it up, but we wanted to have a family song when we were kids, and it was more to just, like, to play with us, me and my sister.
Yeah.
And the song, it was, "We'll kick their butts, we'll break their bones. Who are we? We're the Pecones." and we
pretty good.
And we got into it because we were kids, me and my sister, and we would say, we were like, "Dad, let's sing the song," and we'd play when we go to mini golf or something. We'd sing it, and it's catchy.
Yeah.
But that was fun because we were dumb kids. This is
These are 4 grown men.
Yeah, 40-year-old men. And it's just anyway,
yeah.
so they each say their name: Homer Simpson, Lenny Leonardson. What is it? Lenny Leonard.
Well, I don't think they used their full names. It was like, we're gonna get them in a brawl. Homer, Lenny, Mo, and
right, and
Carl. That's where Carl would be.
And it just cuts to him at the airport saying, "And no one." Who's he saying that to?
Who's he saying that to? I have the same exact note, and then it's the end of the act break. Like, I think that could have been a
dramatic effect, but
it was. But I feel like there was a joke missing. Like, why wouldn't you have the gate agent be like, "Excuse me," and Carl's like, nothing.
Yeah,
even just the bare minimum.
I don't know.
It was just a weird, jarring thing.
Oh, so one more point I thought I should bring up in general. So we get Carl's backstory that he was adopted by his Icelandic parents. They figure it out by zooming in on a photo.
Right. And then Lisa looks up the extensive genealogy records of Iceland, which I don't know if that's a real thing or not, but it seemed cromulent in this episode.
But my point is that I'm sure, and this is not a big deal because The Simpsons does not need to be held to any form of continuity, but I'm sure that there are flashbacks to Carl that completely contradict this. It doesn't contradict the fact that he has a black sister that looks just like him. She could have been adopted too and moved to Springfield with him. It was weird that they do never bring up how he ended up in Springfield.
They never mention why he left Iceland to come to Springfield.
But we've seen Carl as a kid at least once in an episode I don't think you've seen, but it's a parody of Stand By Me where they discover a dead body.
I have seen that one, but I don't remember it very well.
So we see young Carl there. We've definitely seen a teenage Carl, a young Carl in flashbacks. I would want to maybe wonder if we've even seen his parents before being not Icelandic in a flashback.
Right.
But there's definitely flashbacks that contradict it. Just wanted to bring that up. It's not the biggest deal.
No, but apparently there was an episode in season 14 that I haven't seen, maybe you have, where Carl does apparently make reference to Icelandic heritage.
Really?
Yeah.
In season 17?
In season 14.
14?
Yeah, so 10 years before this episode.
Oh, that's interesting. Do you think it's a coincidence, or do you think they brought that back on purpose?
I feel like it was a joke, because...
I'm sure it was a joke, yeah.
Well, no, it was definitely a joke, but I meant, Lenny and Carl didn't have last names for a really long time, and then there was like Lenny, what is he, Lenny Leonardson?
Lenny Leonard.
Lenny Leonard and Carl Carlson. And Carlson is a Icelandic
nice
name.
Tie-in, yeah,
so it's a cute little tie-in.
That's nice. But I'm saying, do you think when they wrote this, they remembered that joke and go, "Oh, let's play on that joke, that one meaningless joke"?
I think they did, and I think it was just the Carlson last name type thing.
Yeah.
So,
all right, whatever. I have no problem with that backstory. It's whatever.
What did you think of the scene where they're auditioning replacements for Carl?
Happy Martin Luther King Day, everybody.
They cut to Lou the cop, and he's there. They're like trying him out as the substitute Carl.
They need a new Carl, and they pick a black guy, and Lou's just like, this is so offensive. And as he's leaving, Hibbert's coming in, I guess, to be his replacement. Hibbert makes more sense because Hibbert does frequent the bar sometimes. He was there at the party they threw when they won the lotto.
I thought you were going to say because there's no way that they would hang out with cops.
Oh, I thought you were going to say he thought it was, what was the name of that restaurant when he came with his family?
Professor P.J. Cornucopia's All-American Steakery and Fantastic Food Megorium.
So I didn't hate it. If you want to make a joke about
it was a cute little moment.
Rather than like it or not like it, what it got me thinking was, what other black characters are there? I was trying to think who else.
Those are the major black characters.
The only one I could think of is Bleeding Gums Murphy. He's dead.
He's dead.
I guess. Oh, and Lewis. Richard, which one is
Bart's friend,
black friend that he only hangs out with at school?
Yeah.
One is like a good-looking white kid, and one is a good-looking black kid, and they're too cool for Bart outside of class apparently.
Yeah, right.
I don't know which one he is.
I don't think there are many other prominent black male characters in Springfield. I mean, you got 3. That's pretty good.
It's more than our high school had.
You're right. That is true.
Yeah, I didn't really. That was really my one thought about that. It didn't do anything for me. It got me wondering what other black characters there were.
Yeah. So they decide to go to Iceland and track down Carl and bring him back. There's a quick little, I think it was a montage scene of them packing, or no, it wasn't a montage. It was just quick cuts of them packing for Iceland. Homer says, "Oh, it's $50 a bag. I guess I'm only going to bring one guitar," and he had like 3 guitars.
Yeah. Oh, it's so funny. He wanted to bring a bunch of guitars, and they're not necessary.
But I'm sure you could have done the same gag of I want to bring all this heavy stuff, but I can only bring one.
Yeah,
and
maybe
that's
make
joke.
it something
like not guitars.
Yeah, you're right. Like Homer does have
why
a
not
musical,
cases of beer or something?
Right. Homer has a musical history, but it would have been funnier if it was more like food or something, where he's just a
collection of bowling balls, like things that Homer's into.
He brings peanuts, and Marge could be like, they'll give you peanuts.
Yeah,
and he could be like, he's like, it's not enough.
Yeah, right. Okay, that's a better gag. I like that better.
There you go,
Pretty good.
It has to have that face. That fish shake I just did.
You did. You're Peconing again.
Well, no, that's actually...
You're right. That actually did make sense.
Peconing is when I do a hand gesture that's opposite.
Right, it's like...
I give you a thumbs up. I'd be like, this isn't enough peanuts, and I'm waving a thumbs up.
Like you just did.
That's a Peconing.
But that's the Homer scene. It cuts to Moe, and I just loved that Moe opens up a paint can and shoves all his things in.
That's a great Moe luggage.
A paint can as luggage.
Moe luggage.
That was probably my favorite part of the episode, actually.
Yeah, that is very funny. And they bring it back, too. On the plane, he opens it up with a screwdriver and takes out the
Right, he takes out his headphones, yeah.
Let's talk about, so they go to Iceland. The production in this episode was fantastic.
Yeah, overall, real good.
And by production, we don't just mean the animation, we also mean the music.
Yeah, Sigur Rós, who is an Icelandic band, indie band.
So they did the whole soundtrack, or a couple songs.
I think it was
the whole score.
I think it was 2 tracks while they were in Iceland. They did the score.
Nice.
I don't know if it's original to the show, but it was.
Well, it was.
I think it might have been because the credit at the end said Icelandic score by Sigur Rós.
Well, they also did it at the end. They did an Icelandic version of the end theme song, which was also very cool.
Oh, I completely missed it.
Yeah. So there was an Icelandic and Simpsons. Not as good as the Addams Family version, but
right.
But up there. Sorry, Sigur Rós, you're no Addams Family.
You're no Addams Family. Try as you might.
Yeah, no, the music was really nice. It was beautiful. It was eerie.
They do that like ambient kind of music.
It fits the Icelandic vibe, and it's just different. It's nice to have something different. It's nice for an episode out of 600 to differentiate itself. But yeah, the actual visuals were great. Iceland is a beautiful country. I would say the best part of Prometheus was the opening shot of a primal Earth, and they just shot it in Iceland.
Yeah,
and then it was all
Prometheus
downhill from there. But
we'll save that for our post-classic Aliens podcast.
Oh, we can totally do that because pretty much there's several. You could even count Alien 3 and Alien 4, but I actually really like those movies. But I'll consider those the Purgatorio.
I've never seen Alien 4, but I've seen.
It's fun.
I've seen 3 and Prometheus.
It's not a good movie. It's a fun '90s action movie directed by the guy did Amelie, and Joss Whedon wrote the script.
Maybe we should do a sync points for an Alien movie.
I would totally do Alien 4 sync points,
or just like Alien vs Predator 2.
I'd do Alien 4 sync points.
Okay, fair enough.
Alien Predator 2 has its moments. It's a terrible movie, but it's
is that the one with the Predalien? It is, right?
It's better than the first Alien Predator movie.
Yeah,
I'd totally do an Alien post-classic. There's plenty of post-classic Alien material. To use.
Interesting.
All right,
we'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. How many more podcasts can we squeeze into a week? How often do you guys let us know? How often do you want to hear our voice? Because if you want, we'll Fox News it. We'll do a 24/7 Wii channel.
Yeah, we'll do as many podcasts as you need.
The Hemus Hour, the Hemus Factor.
It's just Hemus. Hey everybody, what's in the news today?
Cut your mic. No, it's just me. Bill O'Reilly, Hemus, a lot more in common than you would think.
Welcome to the No Spin Zone. Fuck it, we'll do it live.
I really like the production, the music, the look. Like we said, they cover all the bullet points of Iceland. You get the thermal pools, the northern lights. It was all very, very pretty.
I have to point this out. It got me. I laughed at this. I chuckled. I don't know if you did, but they rent a car in Iceland, and it is a Fjord Fiesta. F-J-I-E-S-T-A.
It was good.
Like Ford Fiesta, but Fjord.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I liked it.
It was fine. Yeah.
It got me.
There's always a canal or a fjord.
That's right. Faster night boat. Even the animation we get the history of the Carlson family. The animation on that was good too. It was made to look like old
parchment. That animation was fun. Yeah, like you
Yeah.
said, old parchment. We've come to expect this now. It seems whenever they tell an old story, they do this. So it's not
Right.
a surprise and it's not original,
No,
but it's
it was
fun.
but it was well done.
And it
It
takes
was
you
well
out.
done.
It takes you, like I said, it's the 600 episodes. It's nice to get a little different for visually
Definitely.
palette.
And I feel like in these, the HD era ones where presumably they're using a lot more computers, I feel like they are more inclined to experiment
it's
a little
probably
bit.
easier.
Probably.
And like I said before, it probably makes it's easier for it to pop because it looks since the HD era looks quote unquote more realistic.
Right.
Than the cruder earlier Simpsons. It does make other styles pop that much more.
Speaking of being more realistic, let's talk about this scene when they are doing a stakeout outside of Carl's family's house.
Are you saying there's no such thing as fairies and
And
trolls?
Mo says, I hate stakeouts. There's nothing to look at. And it pans. We pull out the camera and we see the Northern Lights, very
They're
beautiful,
right
going on
behind
outside.
him, and he's looking at some auto
Right,
manual.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, I thought the Northern Lights looked like the Apple computer, like screensaver, where it's just like a light moving across.
I thought it looked like fire in a kitchen from steamed hams.
Yes, of course. So Mo doesn't see the Aurora Borealis, and then also these kind of nymphs and trolls come out from behind and under the car, and they're like kind of running around and giggling.
And I guess he's
I don't
not
know.
only is he missing the Northern Lights, he's missing all this amazing fantasy stuff.
Right. I mean,
I didn't laugh. I didn't like it. The episode.
think it was funny.
The realism breaking doesn't bother me at this point.
I agree. At this point,
classic episodes did it.
it's way past the jockey episode, so it's already a fantastical world.
Yeah, it's whatever.
But I don't think it added like if you're gonna build like that, it's funny to pull out and see like the nature, the
Yeah.
Northern Lights, this beautiful thing
Right.
that Mo's not seeing and he's missing it. That's funny.
Yeah.
I didn't think that upped it. I thought it made it just kind of weaker, actually.
Right, and they just do like a dance around the maypole
Yeah.
around the car. I didn't like it. I didn't think it was funny. I'm thinking it's not even there to be a joke. I think it's there so that they can cross off the bullet point of things about Iceland that we know.
Yeah.
And trolls and nymphs and that kind of stuff. It's one of those. That was the best place to put it, and that's why they did it, so they could cross it off their list.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. So they meet Carl. They track him down. We talked about this. They have the whole conversation where Carl says they're not really friends. Lenny
Right.
gets very upset because Lenny's heartbroken because he thought they were best friends, and it really is. I guess Carl could have been holding it back all this time, but it is a little bit character breaking. It doesn't really fit with the Carl
No,
we
it
know.
doesn't. It doesn't.
Carl's shown a great deal of affection for Lenny in the past. Yeah, so Lenny and Carl break out into a fist fight, pretty violent. I didn't think it was as directed, the direction.
Right.
I feel like it could have been more dramatic than it was.
Yeah, it was just kind of because they fall off the table and they
Yeah,
fall out
they
of
go through
frame,
the
and it just
window.
stays on Homer and Mo for a little while.
Yeah, and then they go.
it doesn't draw attention to
I don't know,
it.
I just feel like a Lenny versus Carl is, that's like.
It's kind of epic.
I feel like you got to get Zack Snyder for that. Lenny
Yeah.
v. Carl.
Oh, man.
The dawn of justice.
Dawn of Herring.
I thought it could have been a little bit stronger, but it was just kind of there.
Yeah.
So they have their falling out, and it cuts to. They have a flashback of, I guess, basically they're realizing that their friendship really is what Carla was saying. They kind of just sit there.
They just sit side by side,
and they
yeah.
don't really connect in any way. And I really liked this the animation, and it was I found it fairly dramatic.
It was.
It was the four of them stationary with the background keep changing behind
Right,
them.
they're
You've
in
seen
Mo's
it before.
bar. They're
Yeah,
in
it's not
the hockey
original.
rink.
Yeah.
They're going to see The Hangover, and then later on they see
They
Hangover 2.
2, and then there's a great gag where they're at a NASCAR race and the car comes over the wall and smashes. So
Right.
this is the one time where they all just scatter. They all
Yeah,
get away.
yeah.
I like that. And then it cuts to them on a bus without Carl. It's just Mo, Larry, and Carl. It's Mo, Lenny, and Homer. And I like that because it was a nice transition. You were going from this is our
Yeah,
friendship,
you're
this is our
right.
friendship, Carl's gone.
I liked it also, but I didn't think, and this kind of applies to the episode overall, I didn't think it was especially funny. Like the montage. Like,
I don't
oh,
think
they
it's
went to
supposed
see
to be
Hangover and
funny.
Hangover 2.
Yeah, I guess those gags.
I guess
yeah. Isn't it funny? There's a sequel to Hangover.
Right. I
No,
guess
you're
the
right.
only gag was the NASCAR thing.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think it needed to be funny, but if it
No,
the Hangover
but-
joke was whatever.
But the entire episode was kind of like that for me, where I get what they were doing, and it was a good story, but I just wasn't laughing very much.
Yeah, that seems to be.
I mean, we'll
big
talk about it
problem.
when we rank
yeah,
it. But
seems to be a problem with a lot of the episodes.
I did want to. We kind of pointed this out, but when we were talking kind of generally about Carl before, but why does Carl care so much about clearing his family's name when he has not lived here in forever?
Yeah, I'm guessing that's why he went to Springfield. His sister is there. Maybe move your parents to Springfield.
I guess, but I would have liked a line just to explain somehow how did Carl get from Iceland to Springfield
and tie it into that.
Tie it into that.
100% agree.
It could have been like I was so ashamed of my family and I've always wanted to clear them. Just put a line like that.
Here's an idea. Not that they probably need the money if they sold all their property, but maybe if your family is the most hated family in Iceland, maybe use your $50,000 of the winnings and just move your parents
move them
to Springfield.
How much could that cost?
Yeah,
It's
you get to see your parents all the time.
Yeah.
Seems like the better
Seems like
solution.
a win-win, Carl.
What I do like is that the Saga of Carl, first of all, I was complaining, I was like, this isn't a saga, but then it turns out that the saga
the saga is the old manuscript pages.
I think that the twist that is turned out the last page actually made them even worse. I thought that was a nice little twist.
I thought that was good
it's
too.
It's nice when The Simpsons does a twist that I don't see coming a mile away, and I was just like, not only this, a good twist makes sense from the get-go.
Yep.
It's not telegraphed. It doesn't contradict anything. It's not just a Deus Ex. It was in all sense of the word, it was a good twist. I liked it.
Yeah. So Carl had spent the $200,000 to buy this one page that he thought would free his family, and it turns out it makes it worse. But before we even get to that point, there were a few things that happened that were kind of confusing to me.
Yeah.
The first was Homer and Lenny and Moe take it from Carl because they're like, oh, if this is part ours because you took our money to buy it. And Moe has this weird line where he says, I say we turn this saga into saga soup and have a soup sip.
Yeah, I'm guessing the joke is the alliteration. Lots of S's.
It's just not a joke. I guess that's more of like the wordplay humor that they like in these most recent seasons.
I don't know. We just 90% of our podcast is
soup
anti-jokes. I feel like we can let them get away with one. I didn't find it funny.
90%.
90 percentile.
90 percentile.
Check it out.
January 25th.
January 25th.
They're in Iceland. Okay, and they have this page that's written in, I guess, ancient Icelandic. I don't really know what it was actually written in.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, guys, we'll teach ourselves ancient Icelandic, as opposed to just finding someone who could read it.
Right.
Like, and why would they teach them? There's a montage of them learning Icelandic
finding
for no
someone to
reason.
read it. If it's an existing language, I'm sure there's a Google Translate.
Yeah,
I'm sure
probably.
you can translate it online.
I'm sure.
I don't know what the point of this was. I guess it was to show their devotion to Carl. Is like, look, we learned a whole language. They take
I guess, but they don't. But they never mention that. Well, that jokey form of Adderall thing was funny because Moe says, my doctor says I should take these. He says I should never sleep.
Yeah, that was a funny Moe line.
Yeah, that was a good
works.
Moe line.
Those are the kinds of like weird misanthropic Moe lines that work as opposed to he's rapey and he rapes.
Yes, the rape. I was glad he didn't rape anyone in this episode.
We should add that to the hippo. Just make it the hip mom. Yeah, and the M is for if Moe raped anybody.
Moe's rapings.
Like five all arounds if there was no sexual assault.
Yeah, that's
0 if there is.
That's a win for
Those
everyone.
are the only two scores.
It's a binary one. There's no gradient.
Pass fail.
Yeah, it's a pass fail grade. I didn't understand why they would want to teach themselves Icelandic, and then maybe it was because since it turned out not in universe, but as far as the writing of the episode, since they were going to have it turn out that the page makes things worse for Carl's family, they want to keep it to these 3 characters and not let someone in Iceland who might have a reason to hate Carl's family learn about the fact that it's bad. I guess that makes sense.
Also,
but it didn't make sense in universe.
This doesn't make any sense with the lotto money being the impetus, but instead of translating it, maybe they just had to find the last page, and it was like inside a volcano in an old monastery, and they had to suffer for it, as opposed to this kind of not fun to watch. Hey, let's stay up all night and learn language on flashcards.
Right. It's so easy. Carl has already gotten it, and they just take it from him. And then
maybe it would have been made more sense if they joined Carl on this hard trek into the volcano and to find this final page. But then a lot
that could have made
no sense.
I would have liked that better, maybe. But what happens is, we already talked about this, where they stand up for Carl and say when he was such a good friend.
Yeah. Oh, real quick,
Sure.
that scene is they want to tell all of Iceland, they want to redeem the family and redeem Carl.
Yeah.
So they go, all right, listen to 3 Americans, we're going to talk to all of Iceland. And there's a group of about 45 people there. Go, is this everyone? And they go, no. And then one guy walks, and they go, yes. That's a funny joke. The idea that Iceland, everybody in Iceland was there. It obviously makes no sense.
I didn't laugh out loud.
His parents weren't there, for one thing.
Right. I didn't laugh out loud, but I enjoyed what they were doing there.
I did not like it. I did
Suck
not
it, Iceland.
like
you got
it.
45 people.
I did not like it.
But the episode, kind of the story arc ends when Homer and Moe and Lenny, they go to bat for Carl in front of everybody in Iceland, and Carl's able to bring his parents out for the first time. They're not pariahs anymore. My question is, Do they never tell Carl what was actually on the page? And does Carl never want to ask?
It seems like they don't, because you think
like they don't.
You think he'd be like, "Can I have that now that we're friends?"
Yeah,
but
where's
can
that $200,000 page that I bought?
So I can also redeem my family on top of everybody thinking I'm a nice guy.
Right.
I guess they had to have told him off screen.
I mean,
weird that they didn't. It's weird they don't tell him on screen. See his reaction to that.
Yeah,
it's maybe
it's just brushed aside.
Maybe it could be like, "Oh my God, I do come from a family of terrible people. They could go, but you're a good guy." Maybe they should have been telling Carl in front of everyone.
He was adopted, so to be fair.
But maybe they could have told Carl in front of everyone as opposed to tell everyone directly, and that could have worked. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's like, "Oh yeah, we were accidentally broadcasting on live Iceland TV." It's like, "Oh, you everybody can see this." It's like, "Well, everybody's here," something like that. But
actually, that could have worked. Okay. So let's say that happened. They accidentally broadcast that Carl's family is even worse than we thought they were. Then the episode should end like Carl's like, I still love you guys, and he brings his family to Iceland, and we never talk about Iceland again.
Yeah, that's true. That would be good. I also was wondering, we don't need this, but it would have been nice if, since it is an episode about Carl and his family, it would have been nice to get some screen time with his parents, see what that was like.
They don't even have a line. They had like one line at the end.
Maybe I don't know if there's anybody else besides Bjork.
I was thinking,
what's his?
Peter Skarsgård, or
they're not Icelandic though, right? Aren't they Norwegian or Finnish?
No one cares.
Well, anyway, so maybe get some Nordic actors to play the parents and give them some scenes so we can get a little bit. It's weird how little we learn about Carl in this episode, where we're supposed to learn all about Carl.
Stellan Skarsgård's from Sweden. All right, fine. Yeah. So, he was too busy in Thor, I suppose.
He's so busy in every movie ever. No, it would have been nice if he's the guy that gets his arm bit off in Deep Blue Sea. I didn't realize that until recently.
Oh wow!
Yeah. I was always like, who's that old guy? But he was like 30 at the time. It would have been nice to get a little bit more dynamic between him and his parents. You really learn more about Carl rather than this superficial backstory.
Yep.
They all make nice. They go into a thermal pool, which Iceland's famous.
Right.
They had to check off that last bullet point.
Yep.
And they clink glasses, and that transitions to them clinking the beer at Moe's. And again, nice little transition. It's nice when they do those.
It was.
Fans of this podcast know I like my good transitions.
We love good transitions.
Love that Beach Boys song, Good Transitions.
For some reason,
I did not write a parody about that, though. I should.
For some reason, I thought of California Girls, and I was like, I wish they all could be good transitions.
No, clearly I was talking about the Beach Boys song, God Only Knows.
Of course.
God only knows where I'd be without good transitions. All right, so I'll do Sexual Pancakes, the album part 2.
All right, please do.
We'll drop the mixtape sometime later this year.
They clinked their glasses. I thought it was the end of the episode. It wasn't. It came back for like a little stinger because the runner through the episode was that Homer wanted to use his lotto money to build a pool in the backyard, so the family's all excited. Right, yeah, what happened to their pool?
Well, didn't it break? It got overstuffed?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that was Martin's. Yeah. They never lost their pool.
Yeah.
They all left for Martin's pool. When Martin's pool broke, they should have just went right back to Lisa.
Yeah. Hey,
that classic,
tie that up, Simpsons writers.
That classic Simpsons episode's a little overrated.
A little bit.
Frankly, I don't think there need to be 9 podcasts about it.
No, I don't think there do. But no, it's a kind of a payoff to that whole pool thing where they come home and Homer brings the whole family out and he's like, get ready for your new pool kegs.
Yeah.
And it's just kegs that have been sawed in half and filled with water.
Have people done that?
I have no idea. It sounds horribly dangerous because you have sharp metal by your bare skin.
I would love to poop in a keg, though, to be honest.
I would also love to poop in a keg.
I'm always looking for new, unique pools of water to poop in.
Yeah.
Why limit it to tubs and toilets?
That's one.
I would like to go I would love to go to Iceland and finally be in one of these geothermal pools and
just poop right in it. Well, I wasn't in Iceland, but I was in Greece, and we went to a hot spring, and we were in the water.
Did you poop?
I didn't poop, but there's like mud that they were like, it's like healing mud. It really looks like poop.
It wasn't healing mud. It was a bunch of my ancestors.
Damn it! I knew it.
It's genetic.
They all love pooping in water.
Isn't that a song by...
oh, you're a water pooper.
No, what's that band? They did tub pooping. We'll be pooping.
Chumbawamba.
I get knocked down. And
then I poop again.
That'll be Sexual Pancakes 3.
God. No more Sexual Pancakes.
So before we rank it, I just want to convey... so my expectations of this episode, I was really hoping for a Carl-centric episode where... We finally learn more about Carl, and I was excited because usually episodes like that, if you're telling a singular story about a specific character, it doesn't have the same problems most of the episodes we cover on this podcast do, because it's so limiting. It's so specific. Basically, the plot has to be straightforward. It has to be A to B to C. You have to have a character. It has to be character-based because it's about a character. And I was excited that we were going to get an episode. I thought it was going to be stronger than usual because it would be Carl-centric. Basically, I feel like whenever I watch a cable drama, and if it's not amazing right off the bat, it's like you have to wait for like episode 4 or 5.
Right, there's always like a key episode. Wait till that one.
Where like, all right, instead of doing 12 storylines, we're just going to focus on this one character you didn't really know about before, and now you actually know this character's name. Right. And you understand, and it's a much stronger episode because it's focused.
Right.
And then you're like, now in episode 6, now you're just telling it, oh, you got to watch this show. You got to watch this show. Don't worry, by episode 5, it gets great.
Speaking of, you really need to give The Leftovers another shot. Get to episode 3.
All right, it has
that's
that episode.
The one. That's the episode.
I couldn't get past episode 1.
In fact, it sounded like you were talking about The Leftovers because that's one about a character who had been in the
feel
background.
like every HBO drama has that episode, like in episode 3 or 4, where you just suddenly get it because even Sopranos. Sopranos is a great show, but the 4th episode, College, where it's just him and his daughter in college.
Definitely
that's the episode Sopranos became good. And you know why? Because instead of doing 7 broad storylines, it's a very small, focused story.
You're focused on Tony and the dynamic.
That's really a key to great storytelling. Again, Skinner in season 2, Much Ado About Nothing. When you do that, it focuses the storytelling. It's character based. It always is a plus. You don't want every episode to be like that, but it helps.
But I think in comparison to at least those 2 episodes you pointed out, this is not as much of a Carl episode as it is a Homer, Lenny, and Moe episode.
That's what I wanted to say. That's why I was really disappointed. It was a go-to episode instead of being that hyper focused character based episode. It was this broad. It's spanning, it's spanning continents. It's going all over the place.
Like with Apu, we've seen like a number of Apu-focused episodes where we're looking at Apu's life in Springfield. We never know what Carl's life in Springfield is like.
Yeah. It's a shame.
He's background, basically.
So it's not their fault for not doing the episode I expected.
Right.
But I feel like it's a missed opportunity. Like I said, those character-based episodes, those focused ones, are usually quite strong. And a Carl episode, that's what I've been picturing for the last year and a half since people have been telling us about Saga of Carl. I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome, a Carl episode.
Yeah.
And you're right. It was just Homer, Moe, and Lenny, who we've gotten plenty of, going to Iceland and doing broad Iceland jokes.
Right.
And it was a bummer.
But it wasn't a terrible episode.
It wasn't a terrible episode.
Excuse me, we're looking for our friend. He's about so tall. Wears a jacket. He's got no visible tattoos.
Just say he's black, Mo.
You say he's black.
So it is time to rank this episode, The Saga of Carl. We're going to do that on our Hippo scale. We're looking at the humor, the integrity, the production values, and the originality of the episode. So, Jack, would you kindly put 2 minutes on our clock?
What was the... Oh... I was going to do My Way or The Highway, but I don't think it would translate in
beep,
beeps.
Beep, oh, the beep, beep. All right, I've done it. It's here. So here we go. 2 minutes on the clock. Jack, the humor of this episode, 0 to 5. What are you thinking?
What jokes did I say I liked?
I don't remember. One. The biggest problem, this was not a bad episode, I don't think. But the biggest problem is that it wasn't very funny.
I feel like we say that most of the episodes we don't hate are always lacking the humor category.
I think I'm actually going to go pretty high on the other values. But for this, I'm going to say 1.5. Well, maybe 1.5 is even high.
That's what I was thinking. I can't remember.
I'm going to put 1. I might go 1.5. Really, the only really funny thing I can remember is some of the monsters from Kiyakirani Monsters and Moe packing a paint can.
Yeah. Well, 1.5 is not an unbelievable score. I still think I want to stick with 1.
I might go up to 1.5, but we'll see. The integrity of the episode. What do you got?
Like I said, I feel like they could have done a lot more with Carl. You convinced me that their idea of male friendship and bonding wasn't a total whiff, but it was still somewhat of a whiff.
I don't know. It works for me. I liked that aspect of it.
I'm going to go 2.5.
And I thought it was a well-constructed episode. There were good stakes. It had clear acts.
That's originality. That's our story.
Well, I think it's
Were the characters
both.
acting themselves?
Yeah, I'm going to go kind of high. I'm going to say 3.5.
All right.
What did you say, 3?
2.5.
You said 2.5. Okay. The production values of the episode.
I'm debating whether to go 4.5, but I'm not, because unlike the whale episode where the whale dies, the production was beautiful in that episode, but it also was tied into the story.
Yeah,
this
that's beautiful
true. Icelandic stuff was just beautiful because Iceland is beautiful, and they conveyed that very well, but it didn't really have anything to do with the emotion or the character. But I'm going to give it a 4. I'm going to give it a solid 4.
I agree with everything you said, and I'm also giving it a 4. And finally, the originality of this episode.
What do you think?
So I like the idea of a Carl episode, even though this wasn't a Carl episode like we just talked about. It's a go-to episode, so that's whatever. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, the concept of the episode worked for me.
That's a concept that should be explored in lots of different media. The idea of guys being good friends and never really breaking that deeper level.
My gut is to go kind of high, and I'm thinking 3.5.
Yeah, see, to me, 3.5 is not terribly high to me. And
Okay.
I think
well,
that's...
you seemed pretty down on this episode.
Yeah, I'm disappointed in its the potential it whiffed.
This was better than most episodes we watch.
Terrible. It wasn't a terrible episode. I feel like it could have been a lot stronger.
It could have.
Originality, I would say, fairly original. Points off for a couple of reasons. The structure, not broken, not great. I'm torn between 2.5 and 3. I'll go 3.
All right, go 3. You go 3. Okay, so we have crunched our numbers, and this episode, the Saga of Carl, has ranked as a slightly better episode than Old Yeller Belly, which we only did a few weeks ago, and a slightly worse episode than Midnight Towboy. I feel like this is a weird part of the list that's expanding recently.
Like that thing in the Atlantic Ocean that's just kind of spreading out from the inside
like
out.
Garbage Island, it's just growing and growing. This is ranked as 48 on our current list, so that's not bad.
Kind of like my midriff. It's not the bottom, not the top. It's getting wider.
I saw it before. So.
You did.
So that is it for this episode of Worst Episode Ever. If you have an episode you'd like to suggest, you can do that on our website. Again, it's weepodcast.com, weepodcast.com. We've got a form where you can suggest your episode, and from there you can also get to our Facebook, our Twitter, our Reddit is a lot of fun. If you're not on the Reddit, you really should be. We get a lot of good discussions every week on there. And you can click through our Amazon links. Oh my God, we'd love it if you click through our Amazon links and help support the show, keep it free. And what else we got? We got our sync points. Also on the website.
Might do another one soon.
Yeah, so we've got the Simpsons movies up there if you haven't watched that yet, and Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, $2 each. It's a commentary track. You just listen to it with the movie. Yeah. You guys know what it is.
Yeah, they know. 90s percentile coming soon. Stay tuned.
To a theater near you. That's right. We're opening it on the big screen. Jack's Movies.
It's going to be in 3D.
Yeah.
IMAX. RPX.
Definitely. Next week, we're going to be back. We're going to be watching an episode from season 27, the current season. We're going to be watching Barthood.
Just aired a few weeks ago.
We've heard some interesting comments about this episode, so we're going to check it out.
Yeah, and also,
Barthood.
Not only did a bunch of you guys requested it, but a special guest you haven't heard from in a long time also asked he could do it, and you might be hearing from him soon.
A returning guest.
A returning guest. Somebody actually came back.
Somebody wanted to come back. We got to get him a t-shirt. So that is it for this episode of Worst Episode Ever. Woohoo, Classic Simpsons Trivia is a thing. Just Google around. I'm tired of plugging it.
Figure it out.
Yeah. And I don't know, Jack.
And if you do go to trivia, I'm not the other guy hosting it.
Yes, people do get confused about that.
Yeah.
You and I don't host trivia.
I sit at the front
You
table
sit in the front.
and eat and drink.
Yes.
I do nothing, basically. Well, I grade the papers at the end.
You do grade the papers at the end.
And I give myself a perfect score every time.
And no wonder you guys keep winning.
Undefeated.
Unbelievable.
I think it's time to take a bath.
All right, we're gonna go take a bath together.
See, and people say we don't. Our friendship's only on a superficial level.
Do they say that?
Well, I just did.
You son of a bitch! After I said I loved you, cut all of this.